in 2009, we're also just figuring out how to actually get the Roadster into volume production.
Yeah.
So we were not able to reach volume production, even by Roadster standards, in 2008. And we still had a bunch of things in the car that were broke. I think we managed to deliver like maybe 20 or 25 cars in 2008, most of which were in December. And then we had to bring all of those cars back to have their drivetrains replaced. And I think most of them got their battery pack replaced too. So, I mean, it was just a fumbling mess, basically. It was insane. But in 2009 is when we actually figured out how to make the car half decent Roadster 1, where you could give it to someone and it wouldn't just like break down immediately. And like roughly summer of 2009 is when the car wasn't a complete piece of trash. That just didn't work. And then we did a Roadster 1.5, and then Franz joined, and Franz helped redesign the Roadster and make it better with the Roadster 2. Then by like basically late 2009, early 2010 is where the Roadster was like a decent as a toy.
Yeah.
Not as like a transport you could count on, but as a toy, it was decent. Became decent around end of 2009, early 2010. Anyway, so that Daimler investment in May 2009 was what was essential to Tesla's survival, not a government loans. So this is another thing that is a misunderstanding here, because they got confused because GM and Chrysler and Ford, GM got a massive bailout, just like a flat-out friggin' donation from taxpayers, like of tens of billions of dollars. So GM got like I don't know, $30 billion handout, basically with no repayment.
Last I checked, there's over 14 billion that's unpaid.
Okay, so maybe
it's a real amount though.
Okay, so 14 that has not been repaid and never will be, I suspect. So, and then Chrysler got a bunch of money, and then Ford got like a $5 billion loan. But Ford is in better financial shape because I don't know for whatever reason. I think that the Ford family has more long-term thinking than the people that were running GM and Chrysler. So they were in a better financial position. But it remains the case today that the only American car companies that have not gone bankrupt are Tesla and Ford. And unless something changes significantly with Rivian and Lucid, they will both go bankrupt. They're tracking to bankruptcy. They may not say like that is currently like if this were an airplane, they're going like that. So if something happens to change, okay. But currently, the intersection with doom.
Yeah.
So I hope they're able to do something, but unless they cut their costs dramatically, they're in deep trouble. And we'll end up in the cemetery like every other car company, with the exception of Tesla and Ford. Anyway, that Daimler investment was essential to Tesla's survival. Around that time, in mid-2009, we got a letter, sort of a letter of interest, like a non-binding letter of interest from the DOE for a loan that I believe was around $500 million. Now, that was not a loan where they just give you $500 million. That was one where you spend the money, you provide invoices. Those invoices are provided to DOE. They then refund you based on the audited expenses that you paid. It's not like lump sum type of thing. It's retroactive after you spend it.
It's a reimbursement program.
It's a loan reimbursement.
Yeah.
So there's nothing's given for free. It's a loan reimbursement. So it would not be possible to use that as advance capital to make something happen. It can only be used to reimburse expenses that have already taken place with a 2 to 3 month lag. And the first disbursement, that letter of interest did not become an actual binding document until 2010. And then and the first money that Tesla received as a reimbursement from that, I think, was March or April of 2010, by which time the recession had passed. So if we had needed the money from that loan, Tesla would have gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
So the DOE loan, I think, was helpful as an accelerant, but it was not a life or death thing for Tesla. And ultimately, the constraints, the problem is that the DOE was second guessing our business plan and our execution. So we're like, well, we need to change the business plan because if we keep going in that direction, we're going to die. So we're going to go in that direction and in the non-death direction. And then you're explaining to someone at the DOE why you're changing the plan, and then they're like, but the plan is different. You need to stay to the plan. Like, well, if we stay to the plan, we're going to crash, and the company will die, and that's why we want to change the plan.
But that's the plan.
But that's the plan. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. And like, you know, with enough effort, we could actually get the DOE to agree to change the plan, but this was taking up a lot of bandwidth to be constantly convincing people at DOE that the new plan is better than the old plan. So after the IPO in 2010, we paid back the DOE loan.
That's awesome.
And we actually had to pay a penalty, there was an early repayment penalty. So we paid back the loan with interest plus a prepayment penalty. Like, taxpayers made money on the loan. Very important.
Yeah.
Taxpayers made money on the Tesla DOE loan. Whereas they're still $14 down on $14 billion down on GM. So another thing worth pointing out is none of the incentives, the EV incentives that exist, not one of them was obtained by Tesla. Not one of them. The $7,500 tax credit was General Motors. They're the one who got that. Like, Tesla had no lobbying power in DC at all. But GM had huge lobbying powers. They're the ones that got the $7,500 tax credit put in place. And Nissan. But we had basically no presence in DC. So, because you'll certainly hear like, oh, Tesla and tax credits. I'm like, okay, well, currently we don't have the $7,500 tax credit does not apply to Tesla, but it does apply to our competitors. So anyone who has not made any company that's cumulative production below 200,000 cars has a $7,500 tax credit, and Tesla does not, because we've long ago exceeded the 200,000 car maximum. So Tesla is at a competitive disadvantage with respect to tax credits. That is quite significant when you're talking about, like, say, a $40,000 car and a $7,500 tax credit. That's like almost a 20% difference. So a big deal. So Tesla is successful currently in spite of our competitors having materially greater tax advantages than Tesla. In spite of it, not because of it. If you eliminated all EV incentives tomorrow, Tesla's competitive position would improve significantly. I'll say that again. If you eliminated all tax credits, EV tax credits, Tesla's position would improve immediately.